Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week with a creator request, which is where a musician or an artist or a composer gets in contact with me and says, "Hey, you check out my music?" And I say, "Of course," because I love listening to stuff that's just coming out from these smaller groups, these smaller bands. They need a little bit of exposure, but they have tons of passion and heart. And this one I'm extremely excited to dig into. We got an email that says, "Hey Bryan, reaching out to see if you'd be willing to do a reaction video to my new single I just released under the name Facsimile. I'm the drummer from Terrestria, and on this new solo stuff, I'm playing guitar." So, Terrestria was on my 2021 favorite albums of the year list. It was number three, I think it was. It was definitely in the top three. Um, and I just absolutely loved that. I praised the drumming a lot. So when the drummer reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you check out my new project?" I was, yes, yeah, 100%. I even tried to mumble in in the email. No, I'm kidding. Very professional about it. So yeah, let's dig into this. This track is called Sincerely by Facsimile. See what they're bringing to the table today. Yeah, so we have a polymetric idea right here. The cymbals are definitely laying down this nice 4/4 in the cymbals. Everything else is very strange. Dude, this is definitely an 8-beat phrase. The bass kicks are super punchy though, just coming straight through the mix. Oh, that modulation in the guitar. We took it down a half step. Yes, introducing the new tempo with that. I like that texture layering there with the muted guitar, kind of chirping away with the synth. Are we in 12 right now? Like, I'm getting like a 3 idea for every. Maybe it's 3 against 8? Oh no, that's even, isn't it? Yeah, 2-1. Really getting gritty with these textures here.
I guess I just don't want you to be human.
Back to our opening idea. Was the synth there the first time around? All right. All right. So, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Periphery announced that Djent was not a genre. And it's funny because obviously it's a tongue-in-cheek album title, but also both of their songs were gentler than they've been in a while, focusing primarily on the rhythmic stuff. And then we have Facsimile coming in here, just really focusing on texture and rhythm, with melody kind of not really being existent in here much at all. Um, so yeah, just funny timing, 2023, the year that Djent returns. Because the thing is too, is that Djent was kind of phasing out as a genre and was presenting itself as a texture, which is kind of where I think Djent really excels, is a compositional idea to put into a track at specific moments to increase rhythmic or textural complexity, to contrast with a different style. To me, Djent doesn't really hold my attention for very long by itself. There's definitely going to be some people who disagree with that. We all have different tastes. That's fine. I'm not telling you that Djent isn't a way to create a song, but I've always tended to enjoy the rhythmic ideas paired with stuff from outside the genre, the style of writing. So it's interesting to hear such a return to this like pure Djent mode that, like I said, I thought was kind of phasing out. Metalcore picked it up. A lot of breakdowns are kind of djenty now. A lot of more mainstream bands, whether it's metalcore or some of the stuff closer to rock, we start to see more of this rhythmic gentiness in verses as well underneath vocals before we get into like a chord heavy chorus. So it shifted from being a genre to a technique. So it's just kind of interesting to watch it kind of phase back in after kind of phasing out. Talking about this song specifically though, uh, tons of cornerstones of Djent. We have the low tuning. We have the low tuning, low string bends to get even lower on the note, or high. Well, actually, it'd be higher on the note. Wouldn't it be? Either way, we get those microtonal changes where we hit the note and then bend into the next note. We get everything in between. Um, we have super punchy drums, that have a rhythmic cadence where the lower end stuff, your toms, your snare, your bass kick, are in line with the rhythm the guitar is doing, where the cymbals are doing a polyrhythmic or polymetric idea against it. And then you have, like I said, the guitars really leaning into this abrasive rhythmic idea, utilizing these heavy tones. This is what comprises almost every section of this track. Um, and it works. It's groovy. There's a reason that people like this genre, and that even when the genre itself started to fade out a little bit, its influences were still felt. There is just these strong essences of groove and drive and momentum and weight to this track, and it feels great in the moment to moment. Um, I'm still kind of surprised the guitar work was by a former drummer. Kind of like there's a very rhythmic side to the guitar. It might just be this track. I don't know. I'll probably check out the rest of this album. Is there an album? Well, right now we just have the one track. I'll be keeping an eye on Facsimile though to see where they go with this. But right now, this one track, this one little doorway into this band's style. There's like no melody in the guitar at all, which kind of makes sense. I've talked about this before. When you have somebody who has traditionally played a pitched instrument begin to compose for non-pitched instruments, percussion stuff, they have a very different way about writing that music. And the same is inversely true when you take somebody who is primarily a percussion drummer, not a pitched percussion drummer, something like a drum kit or a snare player, and you have them write for pitched instruments. It's a totally different style of writing. I mean, we can see this with Copeland. What is his name? He was the drummer for the Police. He went on to make some soundtracks and I think he did some orchestral work. I don't know. We've looked at. I can't think of his first name. It's kind of irritating me. But we've looked at some of his works, and it is highly rhythmic. There is melodic elements to it, but the rhythm is first and foremost, even for instruments that are non-rhythmically, I don't want to say bass, but the rhythm isn't their core element. We're talking about like flutes and trumpets and stuff, where, they get the melodies, right? They get the chords, they get the harmonies, and, yeah, like he brings in this very rhythmic element when he writes for these instruments. I do believe that where you came from playing music will influence how you write music, and I see that here as well, where there's just very little um, melodic element in here. There's almost no harmonic element. Everything is the same note, give or take. I think we have a fifth in here. Might be an octave. I'm trying to remember what the guitar and synth harmony was, but it was definitely one of those two like hyper stable relationships. Is the fifth and the octave, um, and so that leaves this heavy weight put on the rhythmic and the textural to carry those sections, which is just such a percussion thing to do. Um, and I think it's really cool to continue to see that in composers writing. That has been going on for a while, hasn't it? Well, you got another taste of the music, I guess. I think it's really cool to hear that in to hear that trend in composers, though. Obviously you can unlearn it if it's something that you have innately within you, and some people don't fall into that trap at all. But I do see it often enough that I'm ready to call it a trend. We did have one little break for a melodic element. It was a looping idea that wasn't based on sitting around a pedal tone and kind of dancing around it and working with things texturally and rhythmically like our guitar did. We had the synthesizer come in with this 16th note idea, eighth note idea. I think it depends on the tempo because we actually had a lot of tempo changes and this rhythm didn't really change. But it's just a series of notes. It's two pockets of four, and it like does three down and one up, and then I think it goes one up again and does the same pattern, but like dropped by a whole step, dropped to the next tier in the key, I would say. Um, and just repeats this over and over and over and over. And we got this cool little textural layering with the palm muted guitar, kind of giving it this chirping sound before pulling back into the big meaty rhythmic stuff. But we started playing around with time here, which was very cool because we went into a halftime section coming into it, and I think we cut that in like a third or something because I swear there was like this moment where we were getting three cymbal hits for every eight of these synth parts. Um, and I don't know, man. I would say that we were probably in 12 at that moment because that'd be the easiest way to pocket that. But No, not even 12 then. 3 to 8. Should be 24. Well, yeah, you can do 12. Yeah, you can do 24 down to 12. It would cut our 8 in half though. We would have 1.5 bars to every, or 1.5 repetitions to every four repetitions. Yeah, it'd be messy. It's just a wild section. It really is. Um, but then like I don't know if we got tricked or not because I we shifted to a mode where we brought in more drumming and everything started to line up there. We had one cymbal hit for every two synth hits, which just means that our synths are doing eighth notes to every cymbal's quarter note, give or take in that area. So it lines up a lot better. It's not really polyrhythmic at that moment. It's just hitting every beat to every half a beat. It's pretty typical stuff. Um, but I wonder if we modulated metrically, like we changed the meter a little bit, or if we changed tempo. Like there was a modulation that went on there, and I don't know what it was, but it created a real bonkers moment of not really knowing where the ground was, and I really enjoyed that. It's just a great idea. In fact, all the tempo shifts in here were really good. I enjoyed those, especially since the song itself didn't really change much. A lot of the structure was very similar throughout. So having those texture layers that we had, we kind of added those in, and then changing up the tempo and possibly time signature also introduced some new ideas to this that I really enjoyed. I think my only criticism is something I already kind of touched on, which is just a lack of a leading element. This is certainly a track that is designed with atmosphere and groove first. And if that's the kind of stuff that you can get into with music, I think this is gonna, be a pretty good track to listen to. But I really love melodies. I love songs to have something that pulls me along. It doesn't necessarily need to be vocals. It doesn't need to be a lead guitar, but just something that isn't loop based. And that's a personal thing, right? I'm not saying you need to add anything to this. If you enjoy what you're making here, stick with it. I'm sure you're going to find an audience for it. And like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on this group just to see where it goes. What kind of things y'all add with it. But yeah, uh, I do need a little bit of uh, of a lead element. Like I said, it doesn't have to be melody. It could be melody adjacent, but like this to me feels like a foundational idea to put something on top of. Um, but again, that's just what I would do with it. So, anyways, that is my thoughts on Sincerely by Facsimile. What'd y'all think of this? Did you enjoy it? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Let me know. And down in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box. In there, usually I'll plug my link here, but no, there's a bunch of stuff in there for Facsimile. If you want to get in contact with them through social media, find out where they're streaming, etc., etc. I'll have everything in there for that. Above the description box, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Make sure you head over to their stuff, whatever it is, like, subscribe, favorite, you know, whatever social media platform you go to connect with them, make sure to show them some love as well. All right, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.